This is the Intel on eNCA. I'm still joined by Rekgotsofetse Chikane, Mbhazima Shilowa, and Dr. Sithembile Mbete discussing the potential for a post-ANC South Africa. Mr. Shilowa, institutionally, if we think about a South Africa continuing in perpetuity, which, you know, we all are all in for, and that's why we exist. We are here for that. A perpetual existence of South Africa as a democratic state. Institutionally, how much work has gone to ensure that, you know, we weather these storms, whether be it the ANC being Zanufied, Unipified, or Chama Pinduzified? Institutionally, have we done enough with this democracy to be able to withstand whatever storms bat the ANC internally and externally as well?
I wouldn't say that we have done enough, but I think that, you know, at the level in which we are, our institutions will be able to withstand any situation that may arise if we were to have a change of government. If we were to have a government that seeks to cling to power by undemocratic means, not just because of institutions, but because I think civil society, even those inside political parties, will be able to rise in defense of democracy, excuse the pun, and appropriating an organization for other people. But so I've got respect on the fact that South Africans will be able to defend our democracy. But for that to happen, it will require that those who are inside and outside of political parties are able to distinguish between party political activism as well as political activism. You don't have to belong to a party to be political active. In other words, you know, the kind of things that Sithembile was talking about in terms of, for instance, renewal and unity. You know, our interest as South Africans is that there is consistent renewal of South Africa and wherever is in government. But renewal not just in terms of how parties govern, but in terms of what is the challenges that we face economically. Will we be able to change that? Will we be able to create jobs? Because what makes people defend a democracy is because they feel they've got a stake in it. And if they feel that the democracy as we had it, however it changes, only favors the elite, I don't think they're going to put their bodies into it. So I've got no doubt that our institutions will be able to rise up, but secondly, that society will be able to rise up. But it's not just a given. It's something that will need to be inculcated all the time.
Sithembile Mbete, parting short for you, because with you we are working against the clock. I hope you understand. Let's squeeze her in before she runs out of time on that digital platform. Just lastly, Sithembile, how much hangs then, how much is at stake with this question of whether or not the through pass, let's call it that for lack of a better word, the through pass that the IEC is accused, let me be very clear, is accused of trying to give the ANC with these 93 municipalities and the registration window being opened. What are the stakes on that? What would be the implications for the proverbial second coming, materializing or not, on the 1st of November? You remember those images from the Results Operations Center in 2016. Could we be in for those scenes if the interpretation of the IEC doesn't prevail?
Well, look, I think that let's remember that the second coming came in 2016. That the ANC lost 4 of the metros of the country. It lost it lost control, I think, of nearly 80% of the metro budget of the country. And that was hugely significant, right? And I think that what we need to remember is that change is gradual, and often decline and destruction happens slowly, then suddenly. And so the idea or the expectation that the ANC is just suddenly going to lose all power and all legitimacy, I think is an unrealistic one. In terms of this immediate decision about the reopening of candidate registration, let's remember that when the ANC had failed to register candidates in 93 municipalities, it had also failed to register candidates. I think in the Western Cape, it had registered no proportional representation candidates throughout the province. In Limpopo, it had only registered proportional representation candidates in 3 municipalities. And effectively what that means is that the party loses its ability to become a dominant force in that municipality and be able to take charge of governance, to be able to run the executive or the mayoral committee, and to be able to become or to have one of its candidates become the mayor of that municipality or that council. And so certainly the IEC has given a lifeline to the ANC in terms of allowing it to contest in all of the municipalities in the country. This was going to be the first election where the ANC would not contest throughout South Africa, and now it's been saved from that. But we'll see what that actually means.
Yeah. Sithembile Mbete, we are completely out of time with you on the digital platform. I've got to thank you for taking part in this conversation. Don't be a stranger, a friend of the show. We would like to have you as a friend of the show. That's Sithembile Mbete there. Let me bring it back to you then, Rekgotsofetse. The ANC, as we talk now, in Gauteng, in terms of provincial electoral performance, my goodness, the downward trend. In 2019, we were talking 53%. Yeah. That's within striking distance, is it not, for the opposition parties, except, of course, Mbhazima Shilowa has already told us that they are not themselves geared up. Just in terms of the stakes for the upcoming elections, this one, but also the next general election. You'll remember in 2019, President Cyril Ramaphosa was, I would want to say, his face was, he wasn't in a celebratory mood. Yeah. They had performed, they had won the election, but you could tell that they had wanted more, and this more didn't come through. Yeah, and you have to remember that election, a lot of people analyze it as it was less of the ANC just held on, it was more Cyril Ramaphosa himself dragged that party to its numbers, that it could have been a lot worse if he wasn't there, right? So you had this aura of the man. You're now going into local elections in which that aura doesn't exist, right? That aura is now dissipating. It is disappearing both because of him, the people around him, but also this COVID-19 pandemic has affected that. So it creates the situation of then what is going to stop the ANC from bleeding votes. Now, the funny situation is, even if the ANC still gets 51 or 52 or even 49 or 48%, you're still wholly reliant on the opposition parties coming together to form a coalition to essentially get them out. And I don't think we're there yet. So we're 100% looking forward towards another 5 years of the ANC running particular municipalities, particular metros, but dealing with this conflict of how do you govern when you have less than 50% and you're reliant on a smaller party to join you? There are fewer better measures of that than the fact that if it wanted to do a constitutional amendment, the ANC would need significant support from one of the other bigger parties, significant. We've come from a position where they would have needed a few votes to support them to push through a 2/3 majority. Last word to you, Mr. Shilowa, just on, I'm thinking about the situation with the money. We saw the numbers coming in terms of donations to the political parties in terms of the new act. Even on that side, it would seem to me that things are drying up a bit, at least based on what met the threshold for, for donations to be declared with the IEC. Is there another front on which the ANC should worry about if it intends to continue to be the monolith and the hegemon in our society?
I know that that's what the ANC worries itself about, but I wouldn't worry about that, because in a democracy, people with money must be willing to say, I support Party A because I agree with its values, or I agree with the need to ensure a democratic South Africa, and therefore I'm going to put money in a spread bet as it is. What the problem with the ANC and financing, I don't think is just simply because of the openness and reporting that is required. Because we must not forget, Thulasizwe, you used to go to ANC gala dinners and you would be told the table for President Zuma is R1 million. And a business person would buy that. You would be told that for Deputy President is 750,000 Rand. They would buy that. There will be portrait and other regalia which is being sold there. So businesses have always been willing to be openly seen alongside the ANC. I think it is the other part where the NPA, the Hawks, the SIU are beginning to bite, that people know that, look, when we put money, somebody is going to ask, where did that money come?
Right.
That's
Mr.
really where
Shilowa,
the squeeze.
that's a good note to leave it there. Thank you for your time, and I do hope that you will also become a friend of the show in the coming weeks and months. Mbhazima Shilowa, they're weighing in the conversation, as well as Rekgotsofetse Chikane, also part of the conversation, as we were talking about the prospect of a post-ANC South Africa.